What's that?
I don't know.
Banging it sounds. I guess we better check it out.
Yes.
I'm back.
Not for long.
Ow 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 ow.
Back in the days, all I wanted to do was play MCSG. To me, playing MCSG was better than being an MLG in COD. It was better than playing Counter-Strike or League of Legends. It was even better than touching grass. I wanted to be a part of it before I even knew the IP. You saw these YouTubers play on the server and you knew it was something special. MCSG, the Minecraft survival games. Two things were big in 2012. Minecraft and the Hunger Games movie. So combining them was a no-brainer. And Variety, along with some other people, decided to do just that. On April 5th, he uploaded a map trailer on his channel, which had a link to a Planet Minecraft page, where there was a download to the map along with some rules. With this trailer and page, a game mode was born. Originally, if you wanted to play the game, you needed someone to host the server. Then, you needed friends who would be willing to play and agree to the rules. This was a very honor-based system, but that would quickly change. Chad Dunbar, aka Chad the DJ, a real-life DJ, wanted to automate the games so that you could play them at any time. He worked with some developers, and 10 days after the map dropped, the servers were up and running. That's what he did. That's what most players never quite understood about Chad's role. The innovation Chad made in SG was primarily making it playable for people without friends. Bebop Fox, known for the Minecraft parody Don't Mine at Night, and Chad's friend, promoted the servers on a stream. This friendship gave Chad connections to a lot of important people in the Minecraft realm. And with the release of the map SG2 by Team Variety, the map trailer also promoted Chad's servers. But SG really erupted when a bunch of YouTubers like Captain Sparkles, Ant Venom, and iHas Cupquake played their own game. I remember watching it tensely rooting for Captain Sparkles, but unfortunately, for me and the world, Ant Venom won.
And I'm dead.
As a result, there was a large appetite for SG content, and that's when Bayesian Canadian came in.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Mitch, or Bayesian Canadian here.
He and his friend Jerome ASF, also known as Hacksource, played on MCSG, and as a result, brought in a lot of young players, aka the Baka Invasion.
Behind you, Baka's in the trees, son!
They liked Jerome Invasion, so they took Jerome's skin, a Chewbacca skin, which is just something you can do in Minecraft. No V-Bucks, no in-game purchase nonsense. You can just change your skin and textures for free, or you could even make your own skin and textures. It was great. These Bakas were a bit obnoxious, and these little kids clashed with the slightly older kids who wanted to exterminate them. There was even a hashtag, Kill All Bakas, but they were always on the server. Always. Bayesian and Jerome didn't stick around too long. Bayesian got banned for using Better Sprint mod, a mod that allowed you to have a run button instead of double tapping. It gave an unfair advantage, but less than a year later with the new update 1.7, the feature was added to the game. Bayesian switched to a new SG server called The Hive, which was started by quite a few people, but most importantly a former MCSG dev, Clankstar, and Variety as well. They weren't happy with the direction of MCSG and tried to buy it out. Chad said no, so they decided to start their own SG in a hub with minigames. This was bad. MCSG was not centralized with the hub. You had to connect to a specific server like a us21.mcsg.in or a US22, 23, 24, etc. And some guys would just have their multiplayer page full of these servers. So the Hive offered one single hub you could just join, which had been the standard for a while, and having Bayesian Canadian gave it an appeal many people couldn't resist, especially the little Bakas, and they allowed a better sprint. A lot of people switched to the Hive, and with the fact that the guy who pretty much invented the game mode was an owner and making his new maps exclusively for the Hive, it looked over for MCSG at the time, and many thought so, but no. This was around the time I got on MCSG, late spring in 2013. I had already been playing Minecraft for a year, but it was on a laptop from like 2007. I got like 10 FPS if I was lucky, which just made PvP impossible. For Christmas, I got a new Toshiba laptop, which was still considered a cheap laptop back then, being like $200 to $300, but it played Minecraft much better, and I decided to try out PvP. I played many game modes like Sky Wars and Search and Destroy, but I also tried out Hunger Games, and I liked it. It wasn't MCSG, so the games were very unbalanced. If there was only 2 people in the lobby, the game would just start and you'd have like a 5-second game. In MCSG, you usually needed a minimum of 12 to start the game. I think it later changed. These servers were also unbalanced in the items, as you could often find a diamond sword or diamond armor out of a chest, while with MCSG you would be lucky to find iron armor, or a single diamond, which you would need 2 of to craft a sword. I got the IP for MCSG from someone I wasn't friends with, a friend of a friend, who now apparently has a kid. It was wonderful. Why was MCSG and SG in general so great? Well, it was a battle royale before the others came out. It wasn't a shooter like the other ones. There was a need to be well balanced in skill and in strategy. Knowing when to fight was just as important as landing a combo. And the fights were not too long nor too short. You often needed to use multiple tools, fishing rod, flint and steel to win. You didn't just get sniped from across the map by someone you couldn't even see, but it was not like pot PvP, where you were just clicking really fast for 10 minutes. Every hit mattered, but you could almost always make a comeback. It really was a unique combat system that doesn't really exist in any other game. Fast-paced, first-person melee. It also had many cool maps. Too many to count, really, but my favorites were Valley Site University, Holiday Resort, and Tourne SG2. Survival Games 4 was by far the most popular map. It's the Dust 2 of SG. It was the opposite of most variety maps, being warm and dense instead of cold and vast. It became the template for SG maps. The people took the games very seriously. There's no easy breaks or wins. You could dominate for 90% of the game, get full iron and a diamond sword, and still easily lose. I had trouble winning at first, but that was the point. On most other servers, winning was easy. On MCSG, winning was quite special and it felt great. It felt like you accomplished something, which gave it a leg up on real life. No matter how bad your day was, winning a game or 2 in SG could improve it drastically.
What's up guys, Tomahawk here to open some more Minecraft survival games.
This was around the time I became aware of a small YouTuber called That One Tomahawk. I found out about him because I was in a game with him and somebody called him out. I checked his channel and enjoyed his stuff. He was the first player I watched that was actually good at the game. He was at one point the 22nd best US player on the leaderboards. He was a pioneer of block hitting, where you right and left click at the same time with your sword. Essentially blocking and hitting at the same time. You're giving damage while taking less. This was also the time that Joey Graceffa played on the server. Now, he was probably the biggest YouTuber to ever play on MCSG, but it was a second channel thing for him.
Oh, we don't want to touch... Oh.
As Joey typically focused on other stuff. He mainly played with his friend, Stacy Plays, who even got trolled by Tomahawk a bit.
Oh look, you're gonna try to attack us again. That is not nice, Stacy. You are completely missing.
Which only helped his channel. Joey's audience, while not being hardcore PvPers, were less annoying than the Bakas, so that was a plus. I also don't think they stuck around when Joey left. Tomahawk became involved in a survival multiplayer community of YouTubers known as The Cube. Many members like Grape Applesauce, Strawberry Jam, and Grazer10 started to play MCSG with him, and on their own channels. After a while, a lot of people who left for the Hive came back to MCSG. The Hive was only really European, so non-Europeans had a bad connection, while MCSG had servers in the US, Europe, Canada. Canada was best for East Coast players. Australia, and even briefly Asia. The Hive games were also hard to join, because they were almost always full, and even if you did manage to slip in, you would likely get kicked by a donor. Which did happen on MCSG, but not nearly as much as the Hive. Chad was also able to finally establish a hub, which made joining games much easier, and the server was renamed to MC Gamer. But everyone still called it MCSG, because calling it MC Gamer is like calling the Sears Tower the Willis Tower. It's not MC Gamer, it's MCSG. These were the glorious times of MCSG. It was before boosting. It was before I Beat Your Score got banned for telling a team to die IRL in Minecraft, but left out the Minecraft part. It was when I met Minecraft, and MCSG ruled Minecraft. That's when I met Huahui. Huahui was a rapidly rising player on the servers, but he wasn't super well known yet outside of people who followed the leaderboards. He was in the top 10 for a while, which does give you some notoriety. I ran into him in a game where I was part of a 3-team. He absolutely eviscerated my team like it was nothing, and I was amazed. His use of the flint and steel was godly. Back then when people used the FNS, they would slowly scroll to it and hold it out while backing up so you could see what they were going to do from a mile away. Huahui used hotkeys and was able to take out teams efficiently, as lighting them up did significant damage, and also slowed them down. When I discovered Huahui on YouTube, he had only about 300 subs. His main goal at the time seemed to be primarily ranking up in the leaderboards. But he could never be number 1, because someone else was always at the top. Huahui became one of the many MCSG YouTubers. There was Tomahawk, Grape Applesauce, and Huahui, and there was 607.
Hey everyone.
Sir Schmoopies.
Oh yeah.
And then there was Koshmish, who made Valleyside University, and he was also Love Lights.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Solar Flare.
What's up, dude?
And then there was C Scoop, just a hot dog's friend.
Good luck, don't die.
And you had Blamf.
Hello.
And Kevin Plays.
Yo, no balls.
It's Austin.
Chilleroni.
And no hacks, just ping. Who's called that because people thought he was hacking when he just had really good ping.
Oh, I brought it myself.
People in the community at that time really optimized their skills and built upon each other. There was the fishing rod technique that was invented by Geek, which went from being a niche technique to something people still do today. You hit someone with a fishing rod and switch to the sword. This can block an enemy from landing a hit. It can open you up to a combo. There are also trends like the boat kill, where you kill an enemy if he was jumping down from a height into water and he plays down a boat. It was popularized after appearing on Private Fearless's Top 5 Kills of the Week. People who weren't that good at the game specialized in other things like graphics, montage editing, texture packs, and even violent intros. A lot of these things became popular as Huahui rose up. He had a massive influence. Huahui was great at the time. He would win when it wasn't even possible. Notably against this hacker who had every hack in the book.
On my Simpsons. Whoa, 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 whoa!
Regeneration, no knockback, and many more.
I wanna win the Hunger Crafts.
Yet Huahui won.
Dodge the hacker! Even though it's forced to go behind. Oh, play smart. Play smart. Yes, I win!
He just waited for the timer to run out, and since he had more kills, he won. It was an impossible game, and Huahui won it. Huahui became the YouTuber of MCSG. His skin flooded the server. His PvP tips and tricks video helped popularize a lot of techniques. As a result, players got a lot better. Everyone tried to get his mixed texture pack he wouldn't release for some reason. Presumably, I think it was copyright. Personally, I never quite understood why people were trying so hard to get Huahui's mixed texture pack, because I never thought it was anything that special. At least that's what I thought. Huahui did montages, so more people did montages. Even him going AWOL for several months increased his popularity. His disappearances even helped out other people. Just a Hot Dog became quite famous after he made a joke conspiracy video about Huahui's disappearance.
Means Hawaii's roommate must be a leprechaun and he must have hit his pot of gold on the sun, hence why he sabotaged Hawaii's trip.
Saying that Huahui had to travel to the sun every year to warm up his iconic cold hands. And B-Boy QG got famous for just sounding like him.
Yo, what's going on, guys? What is going on, guys?
I mean, he was also good at the game too, but he's remembered for sounding like Huahui. Huahui wasn't an energetic figure like Tomahawk or Grape Applesauce. He was more introverted and subdued. You could say he wasn't a great commentator. His commentary was often just him making the same point over and over again. But he did have an endearing personality. He also did get better over time. Plus, the other MCSG YouTubers didn't have great commentary either. A lot of videos are just people fence-sitting on issues or telling you about midterms or finals, which to watch back is very uninteresting. The only thing you really needed to do to be successful as an MCSG YouTuber was record yourself getting a win pretty much every single day. You could get 10,000 subs just by doing that. It also helped if you weren't a squeaker.
Hey guys, what's up?
I remember trying to record these types of videos by myself or with friends, but it could be hard to get a win. And trying to record on my laptop, I would get about 20 to 40 frames per second. Not great for PvP. You see, my friend and I could never be MCSG YouTubers. We needed a pretty good PC to play MCSG, as ridiculous as it sounds, but it was out of our hands. There was nothing we could do. It was real rich kid stuff. They were getting their fancy RGB PCs with their RGB keyboards that were super loud, and their mouse with mappable buttons. I actually had one of those. It was nice, but not enough. I also just wasn't that good at the game. But issues started arising with the server. Mainly, that it was getting kind of boring. MCSG had other game modes like survival at one point, but it was never that popular. And SG games were starting to get faster and faster. It used to be that you would frequently play games that would go into the Minecraft night when the chest would refill 13 minutes in, but that wasn't the case anymore. Games became 10 minutes at most. People were playing every day and it started to burn people out. It was a frequent cycle for players to just binge play hundreds or thousands of games, stop playing, and eventually come back. It was what happened to Toxic Waste, who would often make it seem like he was quitting, only to come back, and many other YouTubers, even myself. MCSG was addictive in that way. Chad, despite acting fast when creating the server, took forever to make the most basic changes and fixes. Of course, there are things like taking forever to get a hub for MCSG, or fixing certain glitches, like the Diamond Fist glitch, a glitch where a random player would have fists that would do as much damage as a diamond or iron sword.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, I have sword hands.
It was a very unfair glitch that people complained about constantly. Even Huawei did before he got famous. And I don't think I've ever seen him as mad as he was in this forum post. And he was right to be. This was an issue that lasted literal months. And the MCSG staff was just giving lots of cope that it wasn't their fault. It was Mojang's faulty code, even though this didn't seem to be much of a problem on other SG servers. But the lack of game modes was a really big problem. No one played them. And even SG-related game modes like Deathmatch, which was a good way to warm up, were more popular on other servers like Rockspot, which should not have been the case. There were also clans, something that kind of developed organically on SG, which is basically a semi-professional thing where players would be a part of a team and they would play against other teams. It was kind of like Counter-Strike. Chad didn't really monopolize on it either, and eventually it just went to play on separate servers. Which is a shame because it felt like it could have been its own game mode. Eventually this led to players looking at other game modes like UHC, which was emerging on places like Bad Lion, a server that was specifically made for competitive PvP and had other game modes like Duels and SG. They started getting a lot of attention, but exploded when Huawei played a legendary game, winning an epic 1v1 against UHC legend Nestorio. Chad and the MCSG staff needed to make some changes. And Venom had a server that was struggling at the time, and Chad decided to merge with them. This was supposed to change everything, but afterwards things got a lot worse.
CNG. Oh, how I hate you.
MCSG just made a series of horrible decisions. They removed beloved items on maps like a cake in a furnace, or a stone sword on Valleyside University.
I see this if it's working. Nope. Alright.
They had glitches like the FNS not having all of its uses.
This has been broken for like, I don't know how long.
They made the server only playable on the new update, 1.8, which on paper sounds fine, but 1.8 got rid of block hitting, which while being used less, was still a viable technique in certain situations. It also messed up people's texture packs, and most importantly made fighting extremely inconsistent. You would just get insane combos on people where they could, get 50 hits on you and you couldn't touch them at all, and vice versa.
Oh my goodness.
The reach was crazy and it just made people play a lot more defensively. 1.8 was still playable, not like another update. But despite the update, the worst mistake MCSG made at the time wasn't anything that was unpopular. Actually, it was the opposite. And that was the leaderboard reset. You see, MCSG was somewhat competitive as there was a leaderboard, But the only problem was that it was hard for newcomers to significantly rise up in the ranks. This was mainly due to players like Graveyard, who was at the top, and he was not going to let anyone take his spot. Many tried, like Huahui and Noah Sailor, but Graveyard was always on top. He was determined that no one would take his spot. He was like an apex predator. Him being at the top dissuaded people from tryharding too much. They could try to rise up significantly, but if they ever got close, Graveyard would just grind, and you would be 1,000 wins behind. But when the leaderboards were reset, chaos reigned.
Oh, it's, I don't know. What's this? Is like this the whole game here?
Anyone could now be at the top, and this led to teams, boosting, hacking, and just so much sweat that the games became unbearable. Hackers used to hack to troll, and the mods were usually on top of things, keeping it down to a minimum. But now there are hacking to rise up on the leaderboards, as well as troll.
And yeah, alright.
There's also teams galore now. Now teaming had to be accepted. Playing the game with friends was fun, and it was a way for newer players to have a chance at winning, and some of my best memories were just playing along with friends. It was fun. But teams went from people playing for fun to just playing to win. They started tryharding and playing very defensively, which made them impossible to deal with. You let one of them on fire, you would get bow spammed. You try to run away, you got bow spammed. The combat became a lot less sword-based and very bow-based.
Really? Boast, you're not even gonna fight me with a sword.
It just wasn't fun anymore. People were burning out and switching to UHC, another SG server, a different game mode, or just game entirely. Badline had their own SG, which was a knockoff of MCSG, having many of the same maps and items with very few tweaks. Badline had won over many people because of an event called Judgment Day, which was when their anti-cheat banned all the hackers it detected, showing off just how good it was, and it didn't even feel like MCSG had any anti-cheat at all. So they were getting mocked by this smaller server, which not much later surpassed them in popularity. These were the bad times. Even YouTubers were complaining about the server, and these YouTubers were all about not rocking the boat, so you know it was bad. It felt like nothing MCSG did, they did right. They acted slowly, and when they acted, it was just too little too late. Like they finally reverted back to 1.7, but only after the damage was done. They also did add an SG solo, but again it was too late. 1.9 was coming out, the combat update, which ruined Minecraft PvP because it changed it from fast and exciting to slow and lethargic. And while MCSG didn't make the same mistake they did with 1.8, the growth was gone. The server went from having 3,000 to 4,000 players on at a time to just 800. And they didn't have any good enough game modes to fall back on. And their game modes are even mocked by people like Just a Hot Dog.
Please play our bingo. We need you. Bingo!
So when people stopped playing SG, it was over for them. Chad just went AWOL for months and a crisis happened. A lot of the staff left, and it wasn't like those who stayed behind could devote all their time to this, as many were college students, like the developer Ava, which is probably why it took them forever to do things. Didn't help that they spent money on useless promotions like the MCSG animated series. Like, really, was this necessary? It's not bad, but it just felt like a big waste of time and resources. Ultimately, it wasn't even Chad's main thing. It was just a side hustle for him. He said it many times. Revenue dried up due to less players. And those that were playing already had a permanent donor rank they bought a long time ago, if they had one at all. And since there were less people on the server, the games were just easier to join. It eventually became too unprofitable, and Chad couldn't sell it off, so in 2016, he shut it down. It was sad, but relieving at the same time. Seeing your favorite server become a decayed husk of what it was depressing. There was hatred towards Chad at the time, especially with him going AWOL, but he was never in it for the money. He just did it as a fun side project and it ballooned from there. All the money he made from the server went into it. He cared, but he just couldn't adapt quickly enough. And when the server needed him the most, he turned away. He could have theoretically weathered the storm, but I think it was just too much for him. He had other things on his plate, and the next year, the Battle Royale genre would become a big phenomenon with PUBG and Fortnite emerging. MCSG just would not be able to compete with those. I mean, those games put Badline down in 2018. And now it's just a client that was eventually bought out by its rivals. And the former owners have some Minecraft YouTuber tier allegations against them. There was a brief renaissance of Minecraft in 2019, and Chad tried to bring the server back, but it just failed. Mainly because, in usual MCSG fashion, The server didn't come out of beta until 2020, but the hype had died down and the people who played for the nostalgia, got their fill and left. The server closed shortly after it opened. While I was relieved at the time MCSG closed, I still miss it. It was nice getting off of school and running straight to my laptop to play a game. It was nice being excited for something like that every single day. You could make friends easily, just hop on the TeamSpeak, or ask on the server for a Skype team. We played all the time, whenever we could. During the weekends, you would wake up early and play until you couldn't keep your eyelids open. We played less on the weekdays, but still whenever we could. At one point I even played it in a computer lab at school. It didn't matter. You could always lose a little sleep, not do your homework, take a sick day, but you can never miss out on MCSG. Especially when you got that Skype call. And now, it's all over. I don't play games that much anymore. I eventually got a gaming laptop and tried the Battle Royales, PUBG and Fortnite, but it wasn't the same. It was just shoot 'em up like 90% of games nowadays. You just see who can click on the head the fastest. Apparently small SG communities still exist, but I can't even join them because I didn't migrate my Minecraft account to Microsoft in time. So I just can't play Minecraft anymore. Maybe one day there will be a game with similar combat mechanics. Then maybe I'll give it a shot, but reliving nostalgia is never as good as it was. I think it would be better as inspiration for a new game rather than just trying to recreate something that can't be recreated. That time and place is sadly gone, but we'll always have our memories.